Well, welcome to the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Schad. I write for the Viking Age and ZoneCoverage.com. Filling in for Adam Patrick this week is Mr. Nick Marty, my co-host. We do this right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. On today's show, training camp has finally arrived for the Minnesota Vikings. Rookies reported on Sunday. Veterans will report on Tuesday. Some veterans have already gotten there, like Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. And we might as well get you fired up for camp with everything you need to know. But before we get into all that, Nick, let's just dive right in. What is your overall vibe going into training camp, which begins on Wednesday with the first practice?
That's a super interesting question because I think you and I were chatting the other day about the vibe, and it's weird this year, right? Like, I look at this team in a lot of places and I see a lot of names, I see a lot of stars, I see a lot of things that I really like, where I'm like, that position group is among the best in the NFL. I'm excited for A and B. But until I think KOC and this team comes out and says, hey, here's our starting quarterback, it's all anyone ever wants to talk about when you think about this team. And I get it, right? Quarterback is the most important position on the field. But it feels to me like it's dominating the conversation. And it's kind of been like a negative, it's not this fun, let's see who comes out on top. It's like, everyone's in a camp. It's like, I'm either team Kyler or team JJ. And it's like, we're angry at each other and we haven't even snapped the football once yet. So it's a weird vibe. I don't know what to expect, what's going to come out of this training camp and what this team is going to be this year.
I think you're onto something with the whole everybody, it's like, I mean, we were both in college in River Falls. It's like the Twilight vampires, right? Where you had, Team Edward and and now it's Team JJ and Team Kyler. I don't remember I've never seen the movies, but I totally get it. Like, each person had their sides. That's exactly how Viking fans are operating right now. And I think part of me, because like I sit here, I see all the tweets that are just like, oh yeah, you can't wait till football. This is the last Sunday without football. Hall of Fame game doesn't count, guys. I'm sorry to say, like, watching 5th and 6th string backups does not do anything for me anymore. Maybe when I was in high school, maybe a kid, but not anymore. I think with the Vikings, part of the thing that's suppressing me is that last year's team was more flawed than we thought it was. And everything was great going to camp. The vibes were great. JJ's doing well. Don't worry about that pass that sailed over Justin Jefferson's head by about 20 yards. That's just a misfire. He'll get it on the next wrap. And I think a lot of people gave Kevin O'Connell the benefit of the doubt. But there were so many little things, like Addison was suspended. Darrisaw's knee wasn't 100%. Justin Jefferson missed part of training camp. And then you had the typical ebbs and flows of the season on top of it, where Jonathan Grenard and Andrew Van Ginkel get hurt. They make a bad trade for Adam Thielen. Sorry for all you Minnesota truthers out there.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. It's like blasphemy. I'm going to be deported out of the state.
But I'm not part of this podcast. I disassociate with you. We haven't been friends that long, have we? So
Nick's got to go now. Yeah. Like we've crossed the line. So like it's part of the contractual agreement. But I mean, Max Brosmer became a thing last year. Like it's just crazy. And I think this year there's not any of that. But it's something that I need to see to believe, because it's going to be hard for me to buy into anything during camp because I want to know what happened. And you can get clues. I mean, there's going to be some in the preseason and all that stuff, but I haven't bought stock in anything because there was so much hype last year and it was just a letdown. So I'm kind of going in. I don't know if it's an open mind because I feel kind of negative overall. And maybe it is the kind of battle online that we're seeing, but it just feels, as the kids would say. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and it's weird. I'm kind of going in like, I hope that the cream rises to the top. I'm not cheering for one person or another. I'm not hoping for either guy to fail. I mean, what a great problem to have if both guys go in and crush it this preseason and they got to make a really hard decision on who they want to start. Like, whatever. Like, I don't care if it's JJ or Kyler. I want the best person that can win us games to come out of this competition, competition, whatever it is. They feel like they're kind of lip servicing us. I think that's a part of it too. Is I think that the PR department of the Vikings could get ahead of this if they would just like stop with all of the, and they just feel like like they're trying to talk down to us in a little bit, and that may be why people are getting a little bit upset. But I just want to hit fast forward through this because I think everyone's going to overanalyze everything, right? This for the next few weeks, everything is going to be, oh, did you see how JJ was standing 6 inches closer to KO? That must mean he is favored in this. And they're like, well, no, because Kyler's not, they're going to overanalyze everything. I'm excited for week 1. I'm excited to see the Packers run onto the field, Micah Parsons lists, and get absolutely waxed by whatever quarterback is out there. And then we'll get going with this thing. But it's going to be a lot of articles the next few weeks that are going to overanalyze every little thing.
I did laugh before we came on here. One of the posts, the aggregator posts on Twitter, posted videos of JJ McCarthy and Kyler Murray walking into camp. And I was just like, the video of JJ, all the JJ fans are like, yeah, that's my king. Look at the Riz, for real, for real. And then the Kyler people, like, I feel like this is a situation. I was talking with a friend of mine about the LaMelo Ball trade the Timberwolves pulled off. And he said anybody over the age of 40 hates it. And I feel like that's a good barometer. Like anybody like below the age of 40, like wants JJ to succeed and be this long-term quarterback and all that stuff. But like anybody above the age of 40 just wants to choke JJ until his eyes pop out like Judge Doom at the end of Roger Rabbit, just kind of,
Yep.
I killed your brother, jumping around. That was a very awful.
No, that's a deep dive. That's like a deep cut reference there. The Roger Rabbit pulling that out. So,
and here's the thing: I've never watched. I think I've watched the whole movie, but like that part, like I saw it as a kid because, like my grandma got it for me and didn't know what she was doing. So she's like, "Oh yeah, cartoon movie. This will be great." And it's like adult movie. With that at the end. So I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll have a couple of beers and dust that off. But until then, we got a quarterback situation to talk about. Like we said, I think Kyler Murray is the presumed favorite. Kevin O'Connell still wants to make it a competition, which again, that's kind of the lip service you were talking about. And then you have Carson Wentz and Max Brosmer kind of lurking in the shadows here. We talked a little bit about the toxic vibes. And I think people want to declare things and get their Twitter points or whatever to get engagement or whatever. But I mean, how are you feeling about this battle? And who do you think has the advantage going in?
I mean, I don't think you sign Kyler Murray if he's not your favorite going into camp. Now, I also think that there is some truth that if JJ plays his absolute tail off, and Kyler's really bad, that they could flip. But I think it has to be a pretty extreme difference between the two. I think Kyler has to be really slow in picking things up, really just unsharp, and JJ has to really earn it. I think if they go in and it's 60-40 JJ and it's, hey, they're looking about the same, I think they roll with Kyler. And his experience to start this season. Now, that's a different question that will JJ play this year? I think there's a very high likelihood, whether it's for performance or injury, that we see him at some point. But I think as of right now, it's going to have to be a pretty extreme JJ win in order for him to get the week 1 start against the Packers. But Quinn Hughes did wear a JJ McCarthy jersey at, I believe, a Morgan Waller concert. So I read on Twitter that means because Quinn is a star and in the Twin Cities, that he must know Kevin O'Connell's plan because he wouldn't have done that otherwise. So that's just something to chew on there, Chris.
It also means he's going to sign an extension now because, he's wearing a guy that went to the same school at the same time that he did.
Yeah. But
Actually, that might not be true, but I
that's
mean,
the stuff we're dealing with right now,
yes.
right? It's like that is legitimately a JJ McCarthy apologist's like argument right now. And so I'm just I don't know what to do.
I think this quarterback competition, there's two things that are going on. One, I think this whole thing is really a Kevin O'Connell, control experiment. Because I think O'Connell lost a lot of trust with the fan base last year. Because like this time last year, you could have taken a middle school quarterback and be like, no, Kevin O'Connell's going to make the week one starter. Like it's going to be fine. We're going to be great. But like now you listen to him and like his press conference answers, he's going to be talking on Tuesdays. So again, by the time you listen to this, he may have already spoken, but it's like his answers have just been put into Chat GPT or something. There's a very weird vibe around everything because I feel like, if JJ does get traded at the end of this, and I think one of these quarterbacks is not going to be here in week one. I think the loser of the competition is going to get traded. Do I agree with that? Not particularly, because I think we've seen Vikings starting quarterbacks get hurt so much that I want a capable one behind him. And maybe JJ is not capable. Maybe Kyler can't pick up the offense. Both of those things are possibilities. But I feel like if JJ is traded, there's going to be some big investigative report that's just like goes, oh, so that's why it didn't work. Like, oh, he called Jim Harbaugh like for advice at one point, or like, he parked in Kevin O'Connell's parking spot or something like that. That is, again, it's just an example of where we're at in this competition. And the truth is as well, both of these are flawed quarterbacks. Everybody is sitting here. I wrote about this for zone coverage. Everybody is sitting here thinking that this is going to be some Sam Darnold story. And Darnold is gone. He's with the Seahawks. He won the Super Bowl. That was a team effort, by the way. And that's not to discredit Darnold for his play in Seattle. He's got to get him there. But I think that ghost, which is very ironic, Sam Darnold's just hanging through the air because they look at JJ McCarthy and they go, hey, Sam Darnold needed time too. And then look at what he did for the Vikings. So if we just hang on to JJ, he's eventually going to become Sam Darnold. And then you have Kyler Murray, who everybody, oh, he's got the best infrastructure. Everybody, it's not just me saying it. It's everybody saying it. It's ESPN saying it. Sports Illustrated. The Purple Insider is saying it. Everybody is saying that this is and Kyler Murray is going to be the next Sam Darnold. He's going to get the Baker Mayfield deal, and the Vikings are going to have a quarterback for the next couple of years. I feel like the ceiling in this competition is somewhere in the middle because I don't see either quarterback going, like, people forget Sam Darnold was an MVP candidate at one point. Like, I just think people are setting the bar too high, and that's where we're at right now because, I mean, we don't know what to expect from either quarterback.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things that popped to my mind while you were talking. Like, first of all, with Kyler, right? Like, is this his best? You talked about the pieces around it, probably. So for him, right? Like, this is kind of a prove it moment for him. And so if he can't do it here, I think that tells you a lot about where he is and what his future is. McCarthy, right? It's a really weird thing for him because to me, we're also nothing here tells me he succeeds, not because he isn't capable, but because he wins the battle, right? Let's say he wins the battle. They start him, right? If they keep Kyler, then the moment he throws an errant pass, half of the fan base is going to be asking. So you can't actually let the young quarterback breathe. If you trade Kyler and he's bad, then everyone's getting fired, right? Like, to me, it just feels like McCarthy, even if he succeeds this year, is going to be put into a situation, if that scenario plays out, in which I don't see how he comes out of that without playing perfectly, like still the guy, because it just feels like another Minnesota quarterback that is going to need a new situation if he's going to thrive and succeed, because we're kind of like the Jets. I don't want to say that. We're not the Jets, but like,
oh, hey, we have strict standards around here.
Yeah.
We need to be better than the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, and the Green Bay Packers. Those are the only three teams that matter.
It feels like, hey, we're everything that Kyler needs, but we're also everything that JJ doesn't need right now. And so it's this really weird mix in this where I don't even know what to feel or think. Because if JJ wins it, like I said, I just don't think like how we've set this up is going to work for him because without playing perfectly, because our fan base, half of them want him to fail right now, it feels like. And so it's fascinating, Chris, what's going to happen over this, this training camp and then the first 4 weeks of the season, right? I don't think we'll truly know or be settled, maybe even later, but about week 4 is where it's like, all right, is this going to be the guy or not?
I think you mentioned the best approach here. May the best quarterback win. But here's another question for you. Do you see either of these quarterbacks on the Minnesota Vikings in 2027?
I mean, of the two, Kyler maybe, because if Kyler comes out of the gates, plays really well, our fan base loves making the playoffs, right? If he gets us off and has a great regular season, you talk about the ghost of Sam Darnold, and I hope that they make this decision in a vacuum and they evaluate him, but that's not how human nature is. And so to me, if Kyler plays winning football this year, I think there's a very low chance that we let him walk away after this season, right? Now, if Kyler comes out and plays pretty poorly, that'll be an easy decision. JJ's the tricky one because you talk about how you think one's going to get traded. I think if JJ wins it, they trade Kyler. I do because they got Carson there. I just don't think people are going to be enamored to get Carson Wentz in there if JJ plays bad where Kyler they were. If Kyler wins it, I don't see, unless they get a really good offer for JJ, I think they hang on to him. And I think we're having some of these same conversations next year. And I think with him, it's just how everything plays out this year, right? Does he play? Does he not? He's a very trickier one for me to think about into the future because I think it's going to come down to his opportunity this year and if there is or lack thereof going into next season.
Like I said, I'm not attaching myself to either guy. Like what I don't want to happen is for Kyler to play okay, and then we sit here and go, well, we let Sam Darnold go and because Sam Darnold won a Super Bowl and whatever. Like they need the what's it called? The neuralizer. If I'm gonna do deep polls from 90s movies, I guess today. Like the neuralizer from Men in Black.
Yes.
Yeah, where he just like comes up and please look into here, sir. Yeah, thank you. Sam Darnold never existed. He never played for the Vikings. So just so you know. But no, I don't think either quarterback is on the roster in 2020. Like it could be McCarthy on here, but also I feel like something went horribly wrong last year. And I think it was more than just the ill-timed childbirth in week 2, which Kevin O'Connell kept referencing. Like maybe JJ struggled with becoming a dad and an NFL quarterback at the same time. That's part of the reasons. I don't know if he was showing up late for meetings or whatever, but I mean, Kevin O'Connell even said in an interview, I think it was in the Dan Patrick interview, he's like, well, it's time to be a grown-up. It's like, what the hell happened? So I guess we're going to see what happens exactly with that quarterback competition. Of course, there are other things to watch at training camp. They're not going to get the likes on Twitter, but you can watch other things other than the quarterbacks. The running game. That is one thing that has my eyes. Kevin O'Connell saying it will be different again. We'll see what happens on the first 3rd and 1 of the season, but Keith Carter is bringing a more physical approach as offensive line coach. Frank Smith, the former offensive coordinator from Miami Dolphins, who helped Devon Achane lead the league in yards per carry last season. He is now there to bring his scheme as the assistant head coach. Still have Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones, and Damon Claiborne is really fast. Everybody wants to tell us that, but so is Kene Nwangwu and Ty Chandler, and I don't know, Dwayne McBride might have been fast too. I don't know, but is this the year Kevin O'Connell actually utilizes his running game?
I mean, that's the big question. Like I look at Mason and Jones, and they're fine, right? They are solid to me, solid NFL running backs that you can win around if they stay healthy. But I mean, we've seen this movie before, Chris, and until we actually commit to being any sort of a running team, not that we have to be like, back when there was, Jerome Bettis running up the middle 9 million times a game. Like we can have it, but until Kevin like commits to actually making it a threat, I don't really care who's back there, right? To me, that's the biggest question. And he said these things before, but it's another thing that's like, until we get to live bullets and we're actually in games and I'm seeing it, I don't know, to be determined, I guess. How do you help a new quarterback? You get him a little running game. Maybe that should be an approach that we take earlier this season and help either guy kind of ease into it. But we'll drop back and try to throw it 40 yards down the field 6 times in a row or something like that. But I'm not bitter though. I'm excited.
I'm going to bring up another movie.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit later. It's probably from our college days, but you remember the Expendables, right? With like all
Oh
the
yeah.
explosions and everything. I think that's what Kevin O'Connell envisions his offense like. Like he doesn't think of things in terms of, okay, let's set up for this play, let's set up for that play. And I think there's a little bit of that, the illusion of complexity, if you will. But I also think at his core, he wants explosive plays that move the ball in chunks. Now, obviously, the passing game has been the way that they get that, but they've never really had explosive runs on the ground during Kevin O'Connell's time here. I believe Dalvin Cook had a whole bunch of explosion runs in 2022, but I also think that he was not consistent enough when he wasn't running for 60 yards. It was like 2 yards a carry, and it's like, well, this doesn't really help us. It needs to be a threat. I think that's the biggest thing. And I mean, Jordan Mason, he was a very reliable guy. I mean, you hook him up, you give him 10 to 12 carries a game. And, I don't want to call him Leroy Horde because I think he's better, but also, you know what you're getting there. You're probably going to get a 4 or 5 yard game tops, and you're going to try and stay on the sticks. Aaron Jones, and this is where the whole Claiborne hype train kind of loses me, because Alec Lewis at The Athletic actually wrote like thoughts on each player. And the thing he said about Aaron Jones was that and I'm paraphrasing here, but Kevin O'Connell trusts Aaron Jones to do his job. And I think that's a big reason why he came back after that initial report came out that they were going to release him. They agreed to a revised contract. And I think it's the one thing that's not allowing me to buy into the Claiborne hype, because if Claiborne fumbles, and he did it 5 times at Wake Forest last year, if he fails in pass protection, he wasn't good at that either, and he doesn't pick up the playbook, he's not going to play. They might even cut his ass after, and I clip it. I could look stupid by week 1 when he runs for 3 touchdowns against the Packers. I totally understand, but we've been here before. We've been here with the hype train. Like Dylan Bell, like you want to hype up Dylan Bell, go for it. I'm not going to buy it until the game starts, because what happens is you see a guy flash because you're standing there at training camp and you're like, I don't know. And then guy makes a couple of catches and you go, ooh, that's awesome. You know why Dylan Bell stood out too? Because Justin Jefferson wasn't on the field. So I don't know. Best of luck to the kid. Best of luck to Claiborne. All of that stuff does not appeal to me. But I do think at their core, they want more explosive plays on the ground. Claiborne can give it to them, but he's got to learn his job. So like, I still sit here and I go, okay, you got the fancy scheme. You got the meaner offensive line coach who's Captain Blood, according to Taylor Lewan. Does it matter? Like, are you going, when it's 3rd and 1 and, you got to sack up and run the ball, are you going to do it? Or are you going to do some triple move downfield with Justin Jefferson? Or even worse, flea flicker quarterback run out to the receiver screen bullshit. I definitely sound like I'm 40 there, but you know what I'm saying, though.
There was way too many times the last few years where that I would rather have it be 3rd and 6. This is such a weird statement than 3rd and 1, because the amount of why did we try to get so cute there? And then I watched the other team just stuff it, just be boring. And we just haven't shown that ability in his tenure to do that. And so like I said, I don't know. And I think if Claiborne is getting meaningful carries early, we're really hurt. Like that tells me that our older running backs are damaged. I could see him maybe later in the season starting to earn some trust. But if he's running for 300 yards against the Packers, first of all, hell yeah. But second of all, that I think we're in trouble if he's getting that many carries early this season. So I think it's going to be a committee approach. I think, if I was him, just the threat of it, even your like play action heavy scheme needs the threat of, it's like playing like my daughter in NCAA football. Okay. Like she runs play action, but she never actually runs the ball. So it doesn't scare me when they try, and I just easily go right for the quarterback. And so if you don't have the threat, then, everything else kind of falls apart.
A young Kevin O'Connell, your daughter is. Just
yeah,
maybe
she
he's
definitely
got
is in his school.
maybe he's got this like eyesight problem where he sees 3rd and 1 on the scoreboard, but like there's an extra 1 there, so it's like 3rd and 11, just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess we got to throw here. Yeah. It's not going to make a difference who's at running back or quarterback though if the offensive line isn't good. This interior still scares me. Donovan Jackson played through a wrist injury last year, so you hope there's a jump there. I've made the joke on this show. I will keep making it until he improves. Will Fries was more like Will put the fries in the bag. I can't even say my own joke anymore. I'm sick of saying it. But the guy's got a Steve Hutchinson contract, so I think there should be some expectations there. And then Blake Brandel, he didn't play center before week 5, but he did stay at a Holiday Inn Express the night before. So, he must be good at center. They're trying to make that a thing. And then there's the tackles. Christian Darrisaw. Is he going to be active for a game and turn into Peter Griffin running into the mailbox after like 4 plays? And then there's Brian O'Neill's contract too. And, he should get signed, but Nolan Teasley was with the Seahawks and one of their calling cards was getting rid of guys before it was a year too late. How are you feeling about this offensive line? Because like, it's another thing. I need to see it, guys. Yep. I need to see this in order to buy into you as a serious team.
Yeah, to me, it feels a little bit like a house of cards, right? If everything is pointed in the right direction, in theory, they should be a pretty solid NFL line, right? Like, I look at each one of them, minus Brandel. I don't know what that's going to look like full term. But you look at our tackles and you look at their names and their history and you're like, okay, right? Those are 2 solid tackles. Fries, a second-year Donovan Jackson. I'm comfortable with that. But what seems to happen is one guy goes down. They all feel very fragile, right? Like you talked about Peter Griffin. Like it feels like if they don't get hurt in a game, they're gonna slip on a bar of soap, and there's like something's gonna happen this year. But and when one goes down, then it'll like, oh, we're shifting this guy. Now we're bringing in this guy. We're signing this guy off the street, and then by week 8, it's like every interior defensive tackle that has any sort of pass rushing ability is right in our quarterback's face. And so, start of the season, if those 5 guys can play the majority of the snaps this year, I feel really good about it. I just don't trust them to be able to actually play a majority of the snaps this year.
It's like Final Destination, but for football. Like, it's just the Vikings offensive line. It's like somebody slips on a bar of soap and then like the soap goes in the air and it like cuts off like a very sharp piece of like the shower head and like stabs them between the eyes. Yeah. Not to get graphic.
Well, the other guy was doing knuckle push-ups and broke his middle finger somewhere. And then another guy was saving an old lady from a mugger. And, it's just like, it feels like something always goes wrong. That's how it is. It's like, I don't know. And so that offensive line, in theory, I like them a lot. But we need to see everyone I think that's going to be our mantra this year. It's just like, let's just see what happens instead of trying to predict it all right now in the end of July.
Crack a beer. See what happens. Yeah. Maybe Blake Brandel, gets F5'd by Devontae Wyatt in week 1. I know Vita Vea. I was I was scrolling Twitter a bit, like I had said before the show, and Aaron Nagler of Cheesehead TV, he was talking because Vita Vea has requested a trade. And I thought to myself, I'm like, Man, if he goes to the Packers, I'm probably done. I'm like, whatever, dude. This shit's not fun anymore. Like, I saw Garrett Bradbury get thrown around like a cruiserweight at times back in the day. But no, I mean, that offensive line is going to be the engine that drives everything. And if you can't get, I mean, even TJ Hawkinson, too, we won't go too far into him, but he has to show up this year. Like, there were too many times on the sideline where I called him the moody Viking towards the end of the year because he just didn't look happy. And I do kind of feel bad for the guy because Kirby Joseph was a heat-seeking missile into his knee on Christmas Eve a couple years ago, but that whole group did not live up to their expectations last year. And I think it starts with the offensive line and then it goes to the quarterback. Like, I think offensive line's more important than the quarterback, to be honest with you. Because a lot of times, I mean, JJ McCarthy was under pressure a lot. Carson Wentz had his shoulder dangling out of his socket on national television. Max Brosmer, I mean, I've shit on him a lot, but I mean, that offensive line did not do him any favors in that Lions game. He got, his jersey was nearly ripped off of his body. Like, you need to protect, you need to run block. And that's where I hope, the additions they made have helped.
Agreed. If that falls apart, I think that was a majority of our offensive issues last year. And if that falls apart, doesn't matter what nice toys, what, Porsches you have running out wide, you're just not gonna be able to get the ball to them. And so it has to be an average. It doesn't even need to be, a top 5. It just needs to be a healthy top 15 line. And I think you're going to see an offense that's going to move the ball more efficiently this year.
The defensive line, let's stay in the trenches because the defensive line is very interesting to me. And I'm talking about the interior defenders. Caleb Banks, obviously your first round pick, 6'6", 327 pounds with a foot made out of paper mache.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It's gonna be all right.
But also too, I think if Banks stays healthy, they have a stud waiting for them. Like, I don't think it's a matter of ability, because I think he's so much of an athlete. Like, if you don't have proper pro technique, like, that dude can just move people. Like, can you throw dudes out of the way? Like, if you're not getting the sack, are you clearing a path for Dallas Turner or Andrew Van Ginkel or Jake Golday to get that sack? Dominique Orange, another guy, great nickname, Big Citrus. But exactly. Can he move people because he's a run stuffer? And that was one of the underrated things with the line. Like, they talked about, getting guys that could collapse the pocket on the interior. So they went out and they got Jonathan Allen and they got Jamon Hargrave. The problem with those guys is they had no interest in stopping the run at all. And I know Hargrave kind of blames Brian Flores' scheme for that. Jonathan Allen was just here. Like, I mean, you're gonna be here in 10 years going like, Jonathan Allen played for the Vikings. Like, what?
Like a Buffalo Wild Wings like trivia night question, right? Like, who is this Viking?
Yeah,
we were excited about him for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, they still have Jalen Redmond, who I'm expecting big things from because he took a leap last year. Can he build on that, or is he just Armin Watts? And then I think too, these guys are coachable. So like, is this youth movement going to work with Banks, Orange, and Redmond? Because I think those are ideally the 3 guys that you're rolling out there with Levi Drake Rodriguez. I believe Isaiah Loudermilk. I'm forgetting Elijah Williams, I think his name is, the Cleveland State kid. There's a lot of talent there, but they got to put it together.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work, but I like it. Like, I'm excited about the potential that's there. I mean, losing Grenard's hard, but they freed up a ton of money with him and Allen. And I look at who's behind him. Like, Dallas Turner, it's your time now, buddy. Like go be the first-round pick that we've seen flashes of, and now go and do it consistently. You know what you're going to get out of Van Ginkel if he's healthy. You know he's going to make plays, and he's a top-tier type of guy. And if these young interior guys, I'm glad you brought up Redmond too, because he flashed last year. He was a guy that I felt really good about watching his growth last year. And so let's say Caleb Banks or Big Sit, like, it feels like they have some choices this year, some younger choices that the potential for this line, not just this year, but to grow together over the next 3 to 4 years into, if these guys hit, they could be a really fearsome, like, just unit that could dominate the league and be really, really good for the next few years. Whether that happens this year as they start to come together, I don't know. But I love the potential of this line. I like kind of going with potential over old, expensive players, and we'll see if it works or not. But I like swinging for the fences more often. I've talked to you a lot in our life about I'm tired of mediocre. I'm tired of 9-8, and sometimes you got to take swings. And this feels like an area where they're like, you know what, F it, we're going to take a swing. And
And
if it works, great. And it has the potential to be like better than good. And I'm tired of shooting for good. I want to shoot for great.
And I think too, that's why I like the pick. Because
Mm-hmm.
before the draft, it was like they're gonna take Dylan Thieneman. He's the next Harrison Smith. We'll get to the secondary in just a second. But it felt like that was just a lazy, uninspired pick that everybody could see coming a mile away. And that's kind of been the picks in Vikings history. Like even when Justin Jefferson got taken, everybody knew they were taking a receiver with that pick because they had just traded
Mm-hmm.
Stephon Diggs. Like they're gonna take a receiver here. And they also need a corner. And guess what the next pick was? And 2018, we need a center. And here's Garrett Bradbury. And boy, did that turn out wrong.
Oh.
Like, it just felt like it was an inspired, calculated move. And who knows, that could have been Brian Flores making the pick and Rob Brzezinski jotting down pizza toppings, which I don't really like using that analogy because I think Brzezinski's a very integral part of the front office.
Mm-hmm.
But it did feel like the babysitter was in there and he, okay,
Yeah.
just put him to bed by 9. Let's see what happens here. The thing that makes me a little leery, and I'll group the whole front 7 into this, is depth.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Turner and Andrew Van Ginkel are also locked in on the edges. You mentioned them a little bit. Jake Golday is very interesting to me because he's like the Josh Metellus of the front 7. Like you could use him at linebacker, you could use him as an edge rusher. I don't think you could put him at defensive tackle or anything, but I mean, I think Brian Flores has a plan and he's going to put him all over the place where he could. I know a lot of people have said, well, he's going to play the Van Ginkel role. He could play linebacker. I mean, Blake Cashman's not the greatest picture of health. Eric Wilson, I didn't like that contract when they signed him. I know he's a special team ace and played out of his mind last year, but are you really betting on that for 3 years? And then you also have Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who's moving from defensive tackle to the edge. He might help out a little bit too, but everybody's talking about, oh, they need another edge rusher. I don't want to sign Jadeveon Clowney. I don't want to sign Joey Bosa. Like I don't know if those guys fit here. And we saw last year too, veterans come in, they have their own agenda sometimes. It doesn't really work out. So depth's a big thing. Do you think they need to add something or should they just kind of let things play out in the preseason and go shopping at the end of it?
Yeah, I'm okay with them letting things play out. And this is going to sound, it feels very how we felt about O'Connell last year. Like, I trust Brian Flores to create pressure. And if he feels like he has some guys that he can do different things with, I'm interested in seeing what these unproven guys can do, to see what you have in them. In certain ways, and that depth behind our normal starters, right? Hopefully health. I really like Cashman, and when he can stay healthy, I think he makes this team better when he's healthy. And I don't know what that status is, and that's not just my Gopher bias there. I legitimately think he's a solid NFL player. Like, can Ivan Pace get back to being the missile that he was? It felt like he had a really down year last year, but 2 years ago, we were pretty excited, and he felt like he made a difference on this team. Can Eric Wilson duplicate what we saw last year? Like, to me, there's enough good there that I don't know. And I just don't think there's anyone out there that makes me go, oh, we are that much better by spending our cap space on this human. And so for me, it's let's roll with what we got and see what these young kids can do.
Well, that's exactly the plan they got going on in the secondary. Harrison Smith. I know a lot of people, they lead off with their podcast. They talk about it. I'm just going to be real with you guys. I don't care if he comes back. And it's nothing against Harrison Smith. Like, he's Ring of Honor candidate, borderline Hall of Famer, one of the best safeties the Vikings have ever had. He is 38 years old. He came back last year. He, I don't want to make fun of it because it was probably a serious illness. They said it kind of jacked with his training or whatever, but like, I don't know. He wasn't himself most of the year. And then those last 5 games, which the Vikings didn't put stock in. I mean, outside of ownership, it was like, you saved our season. We went 9-8. Okay, whatever. He didn't play well. So I mean, do you think Harrison Smith returns? And are you sitting on pins and needles to see if Harrison Smith's going to emerge from the Smoky Mountains and join the Vikings?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, indifference is the word I want to use, right? Like,
It's probably a better word, yeah.
If he comes back, it's kind of like, all right, cool. Like, veteran leader back there. There's no one back there. Where you talk about the defensive line, and there are guys, young guys there who I'm like, I want this guy to get an opportunity. I believe that this guy is going to go on to be an all-pro level talent. When I look at the safety depth, especially, it's like, all right, there's some young guys, but there isn't anyone that makes me go, oh, like, all he needs is a chance. And so if Smith comes back, it's kind of like, cool, we have our veteran back there. He can get all the young guys in front of him in the right spots, even if he's lost a step. If he doesn't come back, to me, it's kind of like, all right, cool. We probably get the same level of play, maybe more athletic, a little less leadership, but a more athletic, faster player back there. I think our secondary will be talent-wise the exact same whether he comes back or he doesn't. I don't think that is going to make or break this defense. I think what happens in front of them and that front 7 is going to determine how successful this defense is, not Harrison Smith coming back or not.
And I didn't have anything written down about the cornerback position, but like Byron Murphy Jr., they're hoping moving him back in the slot gets him kind of back to what he was. James Pierre, he's kind of the mystery man. They signed him in free agency. And then you have Isaiah Rodgers, who, I mean, if it weren't for the Cincinnati game, how do people feel about him? Because like getting a perfect PFF rating is a pretty big accomplishment. But I mean, the rest of
it's I don't know. It's fine, right? Like, it doesn't wow you, but it's not like I'm not panic mode about it. It's just, it feels like something that needs to be addressed in the next few years, but it wasn't our biggest need this year. And we're just going to kind of hope that we can knock the quarterback down before he can throw it, right? Like, that fixes every secondary. If Dallas Turner and Ginkle and Banks are up in everybody's grill, then, Isaiah Rodgers, and he's going to look real great back there. So.
And I think too, like the safety situation kind of has my feeling with this team. This is not a Super Bowl team. Like they could always surprise. Like, honestly, when your expectations are the lowest with this team, they'll come out and win 14 games. Like, that's the way Vikings football work. When they're high, they're going to do what they did last year. I feel like because this team's not close to a Super Bowl, I defer to the young guys, like especially at quarterback. Like, I would love JJ McCarthy to win the starting quarterback job because I think that if that happens, there is a path to him being a long-term starter still. I believe that in the secondary. Jacoby Thomas, come on down. I mean, he's very interesting in terms of he was in a similar scheme at Miami under former Gophers coordinator Corey Heatherman in that Havoc defense, and he played very well. Like, I would love to see him get turned loose, even though there's a learning curve. Get him out there. Like, I mean, as long as they're not costing you games, like, I think those kids should play. And I think a guy like Jacoby Thomas should be in there, even though it might be mid-season before we're really seeing what he could do. And also, too, like, Jay Ward played well in the final 5 weeks as well. Theo Jackson looked a little bit better. I think he's better as a reserve, but I mean, I don't mind him on this team at all. Like, they're just guys in the secondary that I would like to see more of. Not from this guy's going to be a star if you give him a chance, but I think you can get solid play out of what you have instead of, getting Harrison Smith to come back.
And it's a really interesting dichotomy this year. Now that you've separated O'Connell from Quasey, right? They were kind of always tied at the hips. They came in together. But I was thinking about this the other day of like, you have O'Connell who's in year what,
This is
five,
five.
fifth
Yep.
year, and he's coming off a bad year and kind of needs to win now, right? Like he needs a good year, another poor year like last year, and the seat might get a little warmer. But you have a brand new GM who's not tied to him, who's probably looking at this roster with all this young talent who he didn't draft, going, I kind of want to see what I have so I can start a blueprint of what I want this team to look like in the future. And so I'm really interested in this kind of opposing forces as they make some of these decisions around Harrison Smith, around playing the young guys, because you probably are going to have one guy who might be like, let's see what we got. And another guy who's like, no, I got to play the guy that's going to win now. I can't wait for 2 years. And I was, when it was Quasey and him together, their fates we thought were tied together. And now you have someone who's in a little bit different mindset, who's going to have probably a little bit longer rope because he's brand new and a new GM. So you talk about these decisions, and I'm interested to see which one of those kind of wins out this year. Because they got a lot of kind of decisions like that. Do we move on from someone who can help us maybe win, 10 games versus 8, but yet stunt the growth of someone who could help us win 15 games next year? And so I don't know, that popped into my mind the other day of just, that's something that I haven't really considered, is kind of that dichotomy of those two opposing forces.
And it's very interesting considering when Teasley was hired,
Mm-hmm.
because getting hired in June, like you mentioned, he didn't draft this rookie class. It's not his.
And no
So
ties to it.
exactly. And I think somebody, I can't, I apologize. I should give the author credit, but they wrote something at Zone Coverage that's going to drop either today or tomorrow. But, that Nolan Teasley's kind of the control here. He's the outsider. That's why I love that hire.
Mm-hmm.
Love might be a little strong. I like the hire
Sure.
because you're getting a guy from an outside organization who's coming in, looking at things in a different lens and saying, all right, guy's not great. Like, and two, it's going to be really fascinating once we get to the draft next year, because that is why he got hired, because the Seattle Seahawks draft a solid infrastructure and put it around him. So I think, Teasley's real impact might come during the 53-man roster, because he's got final say over that. Might come at the trade deadline. Next offseason is really going to be when we're going to learn about Nolan Teasley, because there are going to be some changes with this team, I think.
I think you're right on.
The last thing, well, I don't have it on the thing, but I noticed I had it on the ticker. We do have a punter battle going on, and punting is life here on the Viking Age podcast. Brett Thorson against Johnny Hecker. I was looking at Brett Thorson the other day, and apparently only 4 of his punts got returned last year. He downed like 17 within the 20. He was the Ray Guy Award winner. Patrick McAfee called him an NFL guy, which I don't know what you want to put stock into that, but punter battle, your thoughts, Johnny Hecker and Brett Thorson.
Well, to me, you go with the punter that has the better aura. And I just pulled up pictures side by side. You got the old guy in Hecker, but there is a picture. Did you know that Thorson rocked a pretty sweet mullet for a good portion of the season last year? And if that sweet flow is going to come off with the helmet, I like a punter with a little bit of flair, with a little bit of moxie, and I like the young kid. I hope he just boots it. The Ray Guy Award, I don't know, Chris. I have no clue the difference between the two. I just hope that he can kick the ball far. My theory is always draft Iowa punters, because I've seen them. I mean, that's literally why you go to Iowa, because you get as many reps as their starting quarterback. And so I have no clue, but I love that we're talking about the punting battle. You're going to be all right if that comes up.
Hey, Brett Thorson, also Australian. So,
yes.
lot of
Does he
punters
kick
come from
normal, or
Australia.
does he do the Aussie rugby style? I'm assuming if he's in the NFL, he's going to be a normal punter. You don't see a lot of the Aussie college kick in the
The
NFL.
who was Reese Lloyd back in the day? Was he from
Yeah,
Australia too, or
yeah.
was he
Well,
from somewhere?
the Gophers have I mean, they've had an Australian punter for years now who's like in his 30s. It's always weird. I remember when we got the axe the first time, and old man me, and I didn't jump. I took the stairs down to the field, and all these young kids are there. And then one of our Australian punter who was like in his 30s, just kind of like, ooh, I feel a little like odd here. Like I'm not with the 20-year-olds over there. And so,
Like a football version of Cowboy Jacks or something,
yep,
just like looking around like,
yep,
oh, I don't belong here anymore. This is,
yep,
you
yep,
know, just I just want to see Brett Thorson with like I don't even,
yeah,
I don't even think it's a pounder. I think it's just this massive like Foster's beer, just like
yeah,
cigarette in one hand, Foster's in
yeah.
another, just
Just
sets
stone
it
cold
down to
Steve Austin every time he kicks it within the 20, right? Like, coffin corner, and that could just be his thing. He could grow a big Viking like you could market yourself. There's not a lot of marketable punters. Look at what McAfee has done with his life. If you have
yeah.
any sort of personality and you could get that Foster's deal, I can just pouring it in, and it'd be great. Be
You
great.
know, back in the day, well, Mitch Berger was known for other things as
Yeah.
well, but I do remember when I was a kid, Mitch Berger would have the big punt, and then he would go and he'd stick a Snickers in his cleat, and he'd take a bite out of the Snickers when he.
Yep.
I can't remember if. I don't think it was if he got a touchback, because that's like a bad thing if you're punting. But I mean, yeah, he would go and he'd take a bite out of the Snickers. You just have two Fosters sitting on the sideline, and then
Yep.
down
Every
inside the
time.
20.
Yep.
Go ahead and hammer those. Shout out to Will Reichard. It's nice not to have to talk about kicker.
Yeah.
Also, it may kind of tie into the punters too, because they have to hold for Will Reichard. So that will be something that will be talked about. But from one tribal chief to another, this Saturday and Sunday at US Bank Stadium, the Viking Stadium is occupied for SummerSlam, as Bret Hart called it, or calls it, the SummerSlam. I don't know if you ever noticed that. If you see him talking in promos, he calls it he's like sitting there, the SummerSlam, but it's just SummerSlam. It is in Minneapolis, and when it was announced, it was when it was announced, because we've been waiting for a wrestling event inside the People's Stadium for a decade now, and I don't know if I'm gonna go. Like
you need to go. We've had this conversation. You need to buck up. You need to put your adult pants on and your adult money on and go get yourself a ticket so I can live through you, because I can't afford bringing my entire family. I got 4 people to bring with, and I got mortgage payments, and I can't go, so you have to go.
I know it's hard to get involved, because I was sitting here this morning. We did get the cards, so we know former Viking legend Brock Lesnar will be one of the headliners on night 1 when he takes on Oba Femi inside Hell in a Cell. It's a dangerous structure if you don't know what that is. And then Cody against Punk. So the Saturday card looks very good. And then on Sunday you have another Vikings training camp legend, Roman Reigns, taking on a Bears fan, Seth Rollins. So bring the energy. Let's see the Bears fan get his face kicked in. I don't know. Here are my questions about SummerSlam. Which Viking is the most likely to get involved at SummerSlam?
Oh, and they've been doing a lot of that. I never thought Cat. I mean, shout out to Cat. That dude came and
awesome.
He delivered. He looked pretty good. The height, everything, the Danhausen, like throwing the stuff, Cat, like everything about that vibe was great. So, all right, let's think about this roster. I don't think it's JJ, right? JJ, they flashed to him in the crowd. He feels like the flash to in the crowd. Justin Jefferson's here,
or like a guest appearance. He just kind of gets in, just hey, thanks for coming out. The attendance is whatever. Yeah.
Like
they could do that too.
I could see. You look at the vibe. TJ Hawkinson kind of has the vibe of a George Kittle type. Could get in there. Same with Van Ginkel, right? Like I could see, but I don't see it, but maybe. Big Citrus, he's not well known enough, but I think if this happens 2 years from now, you got Big Citrus with his shirt off, splashing someone. I don't know. Maybe it's not a Viking. Maybe it's like the Folingo brothers finally get to live their dream, or maybe Rudy Gobert comes off the top rope, and
Quinn Hughes shows up in his McCarthy jersey, and he's like,
9.
"Oh,
lights go out, and it's like the demon from Finn Balor, only it's JJ McCarthy coming out as 9. Oh, that could be how he wins this battle. It's like he's fully transformed now. He could play in full face. He already has a lot of it. He could play in full face paint. Like, just totally lean into it. Finn, get in his corner. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know if I have the answer to it. But it'll be a fun show.
Here's what I got. Okay. So Kevin O'Connell tells JJ, like, hey, JJ, I really got to talk to you. Like, let's meet at the stadium. I know there's something going on, but let's go ahead and meet. So JJ drives down, he parks, he jumps in the parking lot. He's like, well, I didn't know Kevin O'Connell said to meet here. It looks pretty busy. All of a sudden, a car comes out and like comes through a gate and runs JJ over, and it's Jordan Addison. Just
yeah,
maybe that's not funny, but
I have this image of them in the ring and KO's being like, you're the guy, and all of a sudden Kyler comes in and does the classic heel low blow to JJ, and he falls over, and they lay like you've been traded to the Jets, and that's how they announce it to them. Like, they lay the like NWO style jersey over him, and Kyler and KO walk out with Carson Wentz, just like, this QB room is done, and that's how we end the JJ McCarthy era. There's a lot of potential here.
You know what? They're gonna book a match, last minute match. It's gonna be Mike Zimmer against Kirk Cousins in a ladder match with like 20 million fully guaranteed hanging above the ring, and we'll just see like the darkest side of Kirk Cousins possible. But then he'll grab the ladder, he'll put it in the middle, and he'll like take a step and be like, nah, this is too risky. So he'll go underneath the ring, and he'll pull out a wooden ladder that he bought for like $2 at a garage sale because it was such a bargain. And like, he'll start climbing it, but he'll get a splinter. So we'll try and take it out. But then Zimmer will recover, and he'll like spray him with the brown mist, which is actually like Red Man Chaw. And like, he'll just be like, oh, freaking burns my face. And like, Zimmer has the briefcase, just
I'm telling you, an all-time, this is an article idea for you, an all-time SummerSlam card where you write about, X amount of matches in the history of Vikings that get settled on a historic SummerSlam card. I mean, it could be great. The Love Boat Battle Royal, that could be one in there, right? Like, or it's someone, everyone who's been arrested, right? Throw Darren Sharper in there, like everyone.
No, we can. Yes. We've gone too far.
I'm just saying.
Reel it back in. There may be something in the works, but he is not included. Not at all. As for the actual card, very quick question: is there anything you are looking forward to seeing this weekend?
I mean, Brock and Obar is a spectacle, right? Those are two humongous, awesomely athletic human beings. That'll be a fun match. It seems like it's the passing of the guard, and Brock's going to sell and make Oba look amazing. Just feels that way. Seth and Roman is always going to deliver. There's enough history. It felt a little thrown together quickly. I thought they would save that for Mania, but I think that will produce. I think everything's gonna be really solid, even if I'm not like, oh my goodness, excited about anything. And just give me Dominic Mysterio all night, and I'd be happy. He's my dude. And so, but yeah, it'll be a fun show. It'll be a fun show. I think they've done enough to bring me in and be intrigued with it. And watch both nights at least.
Big shows like that, it's just kind of like kick your feet up, watch it. I don't know. In my case, spend $300 to go down and
do it. You need to add to that chair collection of yours.
I have nowhere to put them. They were so cool in my office at my old apartment when I had a second room, and I just had them sitting out there. Now they just sit in the closet and come out like the Christmas tree, I guess. Nick, thank you for joining the show today. It's always an honor to have you come on as a fill-in. Friendly reminder for all you guys out there and gals, of course. We don't discriminate that way. The VikingAge.com. All the coverage of training camp when Kevin O'Connell and Nolan Teasley speak on Tuesday. We're going to have some stuff on that. Like I mentioned, I might do a couple of fun SummerSlam articles tomorrow just to kind of, get everybody in the move before I go on vacation and all that stuff. And by the way, I write Viking stuff at zonecoverage.com as well. You can check it out there as well as my Twins coverage. And I do wild coverage at Hockey Wilderness as well. So if you need your hockey fix, you can go over there. But of course, this is the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. We do this right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel, and we're in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Nick Marty, I am Chris Schad, at the real Chris Schad. SKOL.